And we are back with another one of our candidate one-on-one interviews. For those that haven't seen any, my name is Cory King. I'm the executive director of the Bath-Brunswick Regional Chamber. I do have to have a disclaimer up top that I do with all the videos that the chamber does not endorse candidates for Statehouse seats, but we do these so that the businesses and the citizens that live in the different parts of our chamber region get an idea of who their candidates are. And then the next one on tap is Dan. How are you, sir?
Hi, nice to see you, Corey.
Nice to see you too, Dan. Nice to see you again. Dan and I have done this before, so you know the beats of this. But just for everybody watching at home, we do the same five questions to everybody, and based on some answers, we'll go down some side roads and that sort of thing. But that's how we do it. And so, Dan, first question: what district are you running for, and where does that cover?
So I am seeking re-election to the House seat for Maine House District 100, which covers a central slice of Brunswick. It's basically the entire downtown, a lot of the east side of Main Street. And it goes all the way over to Gurnet Road, down Mere Point. It's got the Jordan Avenue neighborhoods, the entirety of Brunswick Landing minus the Kate Furbush Preserve. And that's about the long and short of it.
Yeah, ton of businesses in that area, as well as a lot of people that have moved on to Brunswick Landing and east of Main Street too. So yeah, lots of people you're representing. Uh,
Yeah.
so Dan, tell us a little bit about your background and why you're running for office.
So I may have said this the last time around, but um, years ago I was a public radio producer over in New Hampshire, and I started to get restless just covering public policy and thinking about how I needed to do something about these issues, not just watch them, not just cover them. And I thought, well, it's a big deal going through that revolving door because once you go through it, you can't just come back. So leaving being a journalist was a big deal, but it felt right. And so when I moved to Maine to marry my wife Catherine, um, I switched careers at the same time, and I became a field organizer, and we moved to Brunswick, and I it was the first time I'd really made true roots in my own community. It started in 2011. I began to get involved in the Recreation Commission, uh, started work as a legislative aide in the Statehouse, and just truly wanted to keep feeling like I was making a difference, like I was helping. And that carried through when this House seat opened up 2 years ago. One of the big things we were talking about was better integrating the former Naval Air Base into the rest of the town. It was something that we worked on a lot in my 5 years on the town council and well before, of course. And that was my big motivation was how do we get all of that aging stormwater infrastructure rebuilt so that the prosperity out there that is hard earned but fragile can keep going. And so that was one of the key reasons I jumped into the race. I was able to make it through the primary and the general. Uh, and as you can imagine, that work is not a quick fix. And so it's going to take a lot of time. And of course, we've just had a very difficult situation with the PFAS discharge in one of the hangars on the landing. And so that complicates our task, but it makes it even more imperative that anyone with legislating experience around this area needs to stay on the job and keep working to keep this community safe, healthy, clean, prosperous. And so I want to keep doing that work. I was lucky to actually be one of the few freshmen that got put on the appropriations committee this first time around. And I feel like, honestly, staying on that committee could put me in a unique position to help Brunswick recover.
Yeah. No, that's the committee work is something that I'm not sure if all citizens businesses really understand the impact of that. But appropriations is I mean it's exactly what it sounds like. It's deciding, what gets funded and where the money goes. And that is a huge piece to it. And Yeah, Dan, it's been a lot lately, and you and I have seen each other at a more than a handful of meetings these last couple of months because I mean I've got businesses and citizens that are concerned about the PFAS bill as well, and what these next steps are, and it's been a lot. But what are the top three? Oh, sorry, question number three. Keep us on track because I could go down that road forever. What are the top three issues affecting Mainers right now, and that you will look forward to working on if elected?
Yeah. So Mainers writ large, I know we have a major workforce gap throughout the state. It's across so many professions, and intentionally, I'm going to say that these top three issues are kind of tied together because one of the other ones I'm going to mention in a minute is housing, and they're uniquely attached. And Cory, you and I had this conversation.
Yes, we have.
Um, the we have employers in the region um, who can't hire because housing and childcare are so scarce, and if people are turning down jobs in our most important employers because they can't find a house or they don't have reliable childcare infrastructure, they're not going to move here, and things will not be done efficiently. You won't have an economy that is firing on all cylinders. Um, so those, I would say, those two together are very important. I think one of the things the legislature really likes to focus on is recruitment and retention, and that matters with respect to what kind of reimbursement rates you fund direct care workers. It matters what kind of bridges you are building into the trades for career and technical education, how you are using public educational institutions like the university system and the community college system to partner with employers to stand up worker training and really smooth entryways into some of the most important positions. And then, another the third thing, of course, is more right now. It's more specific to Brunswick is climate and environment. I'm that's something it's not always on its face the most economically oriented policy issue, but it really can be because if you don't have a clean and healthy community, you also have terrible difficulty with your economy as well. So I'm hoping that the legislature continues its effort with respect to climate resilience. We had to do, I remember on the Appropriations Committee this past year, a major component of our budget was storm relief.
Yeah,
And and a major component of the storm relief was building back lobster wharves and other businesses that depend on the ocean to make a living, right? And so that's part of climate resiliency, right? And so it's cleaning up the spill and making sure that Maine doesn't rely on this AFFF PFAS based foam for using for firefighting. If we get that out of places like Brunswick Landing and other communities, I've put in bills, I've put in a statewide inventory program, I've put in a mandate to get the foam removed, and I've put in a take back program similar to what you see in places like New Hampshire, Colorado, and North Carolina. And I'm hoping we can pass those and just continue to make strides, and having the state legislature and the executive branch recognize that it's not just about the farms and the sludge with respect to PFAS. That's a big deal, but it's also about these former military installations where we have second best success story in the entire country in Brunswick Landing, and keeping that prosperity from being lost is a huge part of my motivation here.
huge. Yeah, and I really love you brought up the working waterfront piece because yeah, it isn't just about the foam. It's about the climate's affecting. all different industries, around the state of Maine. But of course, the foam is a big deal, and I think it's important for people to understand that some of this stuff was FAA regulated and Army. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, not Army, Navy regulated. For the base here, but there are some new things that can be added that are just much safer and the time for that is now. But even it's a hassle to find businesses that'll work with these toxic chemicals because they are so dangerous. But we do need to get them out of any chance of contaminating our water system. And also, and you've heard me say this before, it's so crucial that we get this solved quickly, and that we share the word, because the businesses and the citizens are worried. We've got some wonderful residential properties that people can move into that they might be hesitant to. Someone might be hesitant to take a job at one of the businesses, in Brunswick because of this, or they might be hesitant to move their business here. And it's like, if we can get this solved quickly and be sure that it's going to be prosperous for our future, and that we've got a working plan. The chamber is ecstatic and excited to get that message out there, and really let people know that we have got a great place to live, work, and play here.
And Cory, can I just add for your
Oh,
viewers just that um, I think all public officials are aware of sort of the delicate needle that needs to be threaded with respect to taking this environmental situation locally very seriously, and dispelling misinformation about what's actually safe, what's not safe, and making sure we're also not fear mongering. I know that people have had a variety of takes about what's actually going on Brunswick Landing. It's a serious situation. There is definitely some culpability to spread around in plenty of places. But there are important things people need to know, like that the spill did not get into our drinking water well fields. The surface of the landing is safe to walk on, and it's a question of not physically touching foam or being near foam. It's not you can walk down the street, you can go out to play, you can still use the pickleball courts. There are things that people are blowing out of proportion, and there are things people should take deadly seriously. But I don't think we should be bringing down all the wonderful housing that's going up, and we shouldn't be bringing down some of the most important business successes we've had on there, from Wild Oats to the brewery, flight deck, and the community college system, and so there's so much positive going on there. And I wanted to be very clear that we're aware of that delicate balance as elected officials.
yeah, no, and I think all the elected officials have been striking that tone, and letting people know that there are concerns, but also the right way to handle it. So, speaking of that, if voters can, question four, if voters can only know two things about you before they fill out their ballot, what would those two things be? I've also asked this question to people, saying, after you knock on the door, when you're walking away from that door, what do you hope they remember about you? So take it any way you want, but
So they say if you don't toot your own horn a little bit, no one will. So like this is my chance to just like let people know. When I was on the Brunswick Town Council, I missed one meeting in 5 years, and that was because the internet connection on the airplane failed. And in the legislature in my first term, we had 556 recorded votes, and I was there for all of them. And and so I want people to know first that I do the job that you hired me to do. I don't I don't put you all, the constituents of District 100, in a place where you're not actually having anyone at the table because I was AWOL or wasn't there doing my job. And that's actually hard to do when you're a father of two. So I've got two school age children in Brunswick schools, and we work really hard to cobble childcare together to make sure that I can be there to do my job. The second thing I want people to know is that I am someone who doesn't give up. I've got 9 years of legislative experience as an aide. and I've got my first 2 years under my belt as a state rep. I have the knowledge of how the legislative process works. I know I have the experience to pass bills, but I also have the patience to outlast and cut through the inertia of the legislative process. I know sometimes you have to try 3 or 4 different times to get people to yes, and I'm ready for that.
I love that point about the attendance and being there for the votes because it's one of those things that not everyone looks at, but 100% voting record is kind of unbelievable, man. That's really great. There have been some other legislators that certainly can't make that claim, and that's where I'll leave that. But that's very impressive and something to learn about for
One of them just lost their race
sure.
because of.
Yeah, I will mention no one. I will mention no one. With that, Dan, question five. Actually, before we get to question five, is there anything I didn't ask you about that you wanna say?
Um, I think I've been very happy with the conversation so
Yeah.
far. I'm always glad to have people reach out. Just want to, I guess I would just say it goes without saying, anytime I'm in front of a camera or in front of a microphone, I want to let people know that they should feel very comfortable reaching out to me. To one of my primary functions is to help people navigate state government. It's not just to pass bills. I am there to be someone who assists them when they have questions about a tax program or a tax relief issue, or they need to deal with the Health and Human Services Department or some other department. That's something that my staff and I help people with. So people should remember it's not just about legislation.
Dan, that is such a critical point. Yeah, that it's not just about the bills that get passed, but it's also having that person really representing all your needs, and those needs include finding what you need from state government. That's such a key point. Question five is, what's the best way for people to connect with you and find out more about you as a candidate?
Yeah, so I have a Facebook page and a website, but they're actually seldom updated, and so what I'm asking people to do is just to call me at 207-756-3793. If you have a legislative business related question, dan.ankeles at legislature.maine.gov. If you want to ask a campaign related question, where do you stand on X? What are you going to do about Y? dankeles at gmail.com. Those are all the ways. I just prefer to engage directly with people one on one because I feel like some of these topics people bring up are not really conducive to answering with just a soundbite.
And I will say for you, Dan, and for actually everyone this last cycle, we had such a lovely response from all the legislators we reached out to for various needs. You're all very adept at getting back to us and making us feel heard. So I do want to put that on the record that you are certainly responsive. So and we appreciate that at the chamber.
Well, thank you for all you guys do to advocate for all of the businesses in our community. I think
Oh,
that's really important advocacy, and I do appreciate it.
okay, Dan, appreciate it. Good talking to you, my friend. And we'll see you soon.
Thanks for having me.